I'm going to be speaking about a personal app that I did with Flutter. So first things first, who here knows Flutter already? So maybe, okay, maybe 30%, so it's cool. So I'm going to be talking about this personal app that I put into production. I got some insights and some feedbacks that I would like to share with you. So I work at Sfeir. Sfeir is a French agency. I'm a developer advocate there. And as Natalia was saying, I work mostly with mobile and voice technologies. So, and I love sharing this kind of knowledge. If you want to ping me, either write me a DM or email me. I would like to talk with you if you want. So that was my profile. So I want to talk about what I do on my spare time because you're going to understand later why this is important. I really enjoy those location-based games. Maybe some of you know Ingress. I think almost everyone here knows Pokemon Go, where you catch Pokemons on the streets. And there's this new one called also Wizards Unite for Harry Potter. I don't know how many of you know Wizards Unite or play it. Do you play it? You play it? Oh, nice. I think it's the first time where I find someone that actually plays it. And for those who maybe still play, I don't play Pokemon Go anymore, but for those who still play Pokemon, there's an event going on right now, so I'm missing the event in the game to do that. I don't play that much anymore, but whatever. Of course, I prefer being here than playing for now. So okay, you're going to understand why I talked about that. So I'm going to talk about my personal journey with Flutter. How did I get started? And then the app that I made. We can see the name of the app has Wizards Unite, so that's why I'm talking about that. Some takeaways and then next steps. So, my personal journey. So before the version 1.0 was announced, I was really skeptical about this new framework, which is actually, for those who don't know, it's a framework for building apps, either for mobile, web, or desktop. The mobile version is the more mature one, but the web and desktop apps can also be built with this framework. You, in order to use this framework, you have to use a programming language called Dart. And I was like, oh my god, being an Android developer, I mostly do Android. I just learned Kotlin. I was just being really productive in Kotlin, and then I said, oh my god, now I have to learn another language to use this, so no. There were a lot of missing features, like integrations that weren't there, so I was like, no, it's not for me. And then there was an event in 2018, the end of 2018, Flutter Live, where they announced the first version. They considered it stable, a lot of integrations were there, and I was like, okay, I had a little idea of an app that I wanted to make, so okay, I'll try it. So in the beginning of this year, I was finding resources and learning and trying small apps, and I really enjoyed the experience. So, okay, very nice first experience there. And then in April on this year too, the Flutter team, they did a contest called Flutter Create. And the challenge was to write a whole app only with 5 kilobytes of code. If you don't know how little that is, it's very little, maybe 100, 150 lines maximum. So they launched this challenge. You had to build this app. I added an additional challenge. I woke up one day and I said, okay, I'm going to participate on it. And it was a Saturday. And I was like, I had this idea and I said, okay, I'll do this in one day. And I could do it. And I published, actually, the app is available on Android and iOS. And I was really proud of myself because after the contest, they did a marketing video, and my app got on the middle of on the video right there, even with a visual bug on the right. But I was really happy that they featured my app on the marketing video. And they also issued a certificate of participation of the contest. I didn't win anything, there was stuff to win. But really, really cool experience too, really cool of the Flutter team doing this kind of contest to promote the language and the framework. So, this new game was going to be announced, Wizard Unite. Since I was a Pokemon Go fan, of course I was looking into it, and I was playing from the day one, and I looked on the stores, and I was searching for tools or companion apps that will help me like play the game. And there were no interesting tools, and I was like, okay, there's an opportunity there. I had an idea, and I maybe 3 weeks after the launch of the game, I did my first commit of this app. So let's talk a little bit about the app. This is not the most important thing of the talk, of course. I'm going to the most important thing is the feedback that I had from actually publishing the app, developing and publishing the app. But I just wanted to show you what it does. So in the game, it's a location-based game. You have to walk around to catch stuff, a little bit like Pokemon Go too. But the problem, the difference with Pokemon, because when you play Pokemon, you see if you have a Pikachu or something like that, you know that you're going to encounter that. In User's Night, it's not the same. You have like this symbol on the screen, and you don't know what you're going to have. So for the blue one, you can have either of those ones on the left, and for the green one, you can have either of those ones on the right. And sometimes you have things like this, where you have a bunch of families or a bunch of symbols, and you actually don't know which ones you need, because you have to actually have a collection of things that you need. So when you want to optimize your gameplay, it can take a lot of time, so it's not optimized. And yes, in order to check inside the app is long, the app is long, you have a lot of clicks to go inside of it and check, oh, do I need this creature or not? So yeah, so very long. And so my idea was to, while you're playing, have some kind of tool that helps you save time, optimize your gameplay, and a tool that enables you to quickly check your data, your game data. And even at home, if you'd like to plan or something like that, if you like to quickly check what you have, plan ahead and have cool statistics and visualizations about your data. And the biggest challenge for me was to sync the data between the game and my app, my companion app, because there are no APIs, there's never going to be a public API, where we have seen this with Ingress, with Pokemon, so no public APIs. There are several tools that exist for Pokemon Go that analyze the screenshot to calculate statistics about the Pokemon, but you have to take the screenshot and then analyze it in some way and enter the data on the app. And on Android, it's even cooler, because you can even show an overlay button that would trigger the screenshot and do that. But I have never done that. I know that it's possible. So I was like, okay, let's not start with that. This is too hard for a first step. So the data, unfortunately, has to be put in a manual way. So this is a spoiler. This is a screen of the app, the main screen, where you actually manually put how many of each creature you have. So this was some iterations of the versions that I had. So the first one, very simple. You just had this +1 button here, or you could click on this edit zone here and put it with the keyboard. The second version, the same thing, but if the thing was complete, I changed the layout. And we're going to see on the feedback later, input, especially on iOS, is kind of challenging, let's say like that, with keyboard. And since Flutter you build for both Android and iOS, I didn't want to have specific code for handling those kind of inputs. So I changed, and I added this button here with sliders, where you could put how many of the things that you had. So this is the main screen of the app, and the main thing that you have to do as a user. So let's just take a look at other screens right here. So the first one, I think it's really cool. It's really nice, the animation. So the login, and then the second one is the actual experience of using the app. You're switching back and forth from the game to the companion app. So this is what the actual experience looks like. Then, as I said, one of the ideas was also like doing cool statistics and cool visualization, so I could quickly add those with some plugins like charts and plugins. And here, even on the third screen here, everything is built using very simple widgets, very simple components, and I could do that very easily. I rely, those are the dependencies for the app. I rely heavily on Firebase. So just so you know, the Flutter team works very closely with the Firebase team. So in order to have your data synced to the cloud, to do push notifications, some kind of authentication, all of that and more, you can use Firebase. All of the main tools of Firebase work really well with Flutter. And then I use some other, I'm not going to talk about all of the dependencies. Just want to point out the last one, which is a tutorial that is launched on the beginning of the app. And the dependency didn't fit my needs. There was some bug, some visual bug that wasn't good for me. And there was someone, Vanitos, who did a fork that fixed the bug. So this is how you point to a fork of a dependency. So this was the app. So what have I learned from it? The first thing is that the app currently is unfortunately only in English. For me, as an international girl, I am Brazilian, I live in France. I really wanted the app to be available in several languages. As an Android developer, we do it very easily. We have these string resources. There are in folders. There's a folder for English, a folder for French, a folder for Spanish, for Portuguese, for whatever language, and it just works. And you just point out the reference. The Android SDK takes care of it. You can detect the language on Flutter, but the actual management of the localization has to be done by hand. So the thing is that a lot of people came up with external packages that handle that for you. So you can see here a lot of external dependencies that were made in order to handle that. And I was like, okay, there's all of those dependencies there. I didn't want to pick one, and you can see the score that is on the circle that the dependency site calculates for you. But I don't want to pick one. I just want it to work, you know. And for me, maybe the framework should do that for you. What about resources management? Again, as an Android developer, you have all your resources on XML file, your assets, your fonts, your strings, your styles, your dimensions, your colors. They're all separated very nicely on folders and files. On Flutter, you have this pubspec.yaml file where you put on all of the dependencies that I showed before, all of the libraries, the external libraries that you put, and some other resources too. So, for example, assets, images of your app, they are pointed out as shown on the screen. You can even handle different kind of sizes for bigger phones, you know, that you can have more detailed images. So this is how you reference them. And this is, and then you can see how you can reference fonts right here. So images and fonts are handled on the pubspec YAML file. What about other kinds of resources like dimensions, like styles and stuff like that? They are not handled at all by the framework, so you have to do it by hand. This is what I have done. So basically I have one file for each kind of resource that isn't handled on another way. So for colors, dimensions, strings, and styles. And you can see, so it's actually pretty simple, but for me, at first, it was kind of weird doing this like that, again, as an Android developer. But I guess for web developers, maybe this is something that people already do. For me, it was kind of weird, but I got used to it. It works for me, so this is some definitions of colors, some definitions of dimensions, and this is what it would look like referencing them on the code. So yeah, okay, I guess it works nice. It was only this change of mindset that was hard for me at the beginning. So let's talk about a little bit of material design. What is really interesting in Flutter is that they work really closely. Again, since Flutter is a framework done by Google and material design is done by Google too, they work really close with the teams. So it is actually easier to comply with the specs than actually native Android development. And it's kind of expected because Flutter is it's much more recent. So for instance, the extended floating action button, so you know the button that stays put on the screen when you scroll and do whatever, you can have an icon, and then the extended one has a text too. In general, it's only a circle with an icon, but the extended one has some text. So in Flutter, there's a constructor for that, the extended constructor. It just works. As in comparison, in Android, you have to use the material button on your activity, on your XML file. But in order to do that, you have to, on the styles.xml file, you have to use the material components reference there. And your app theme has to inherit from the theme overlay material components. So a lot more work that you have to do. You have to change those things first in order to use this kind of components. So, what about other components that we have, like the slider? You can see on the first image the spec from material design for a slider. So it looks like that. This is one screenshot from the actual app, since I do use sliders. Okay, it's not exactly the same as the specs, so you can see, but it resembles a lot the original specs. And this is what the SIG bar on Android looks like. So yeah, so the Flutter slider is complying a lot better with material design than the Android component. What about screen transitions? It's very materially too to do, like when you click on a list, you do a cool animation to go to a detail where you embiggen an image and you do some kind of cool transitions like that, so you know where you're coming from, back and forth. This is actually a code by the Android team. This is what you have to do on Android. So you have to declare your transitions right here, the components that are where you're coming from, the components where you're going to. On this would be your list, and then you start the activity or those options, and then you have to do all this boilerplate code right here, and then on your destination file you have to set those transitions. So yeah, a lot of code only to do that. Let me show you an example on Flutter, on the app that I did. This is the same principle, doing some kind of action and having some kind of animation. This is called the hero widget. And in Flutter, it's so easy to do that because the only thing that you have to do, you have to wrap your component, your widget, with this widget that is called hero. And the only thing that you have to do is that this is my source widget. You have to have an ID. And on the destination widget, this is the destination widget, you have to put the same ID. And that is everything that you have to do. The animation will be done for you. The framework will handle everything for you. Of course, you can maybe customize and maybe do something more appropriate to your needs. But the standard one was fine for me. And of course, to do custom ones, you have to add more code. But the standard one was fine for me. And I was really happy that I could do it very simply, only by wrapping with this hero widget. There are integrations that are really easy to do. Like, for example, you know this share bottom sheet right here. it's done simply by, of course, integrating the dependency and one line of code, and it works, and it maps to the action send intent on Android and to a UI activity view controller on iOS. It works really, really easily. Very, very nice to see that. I didn't put the native codes here, but there are a lot more works that you have to do. So it works just out of the box, really nice. Quick actions. You know, when you force touch or force click or you long press on the icon on the screen, you can have those kinds of quick actions, which is on Android are called shortcuts, and iOS is called quick actions, on Flutter is called quick actions too. And this is all of the code that you have to do in order to have those. So this is actually screenshots of the app, my app too. So yeah, so really, really easy integrations that you can do that work again the same, automatically for both platforms, for Android and iOS. So really nice. And as I was talking about in the beginning, the input was of data showing the keyboard and managing all the stuff was kind of challenging, but I could have found a solution and do it myself, but even if I coded that, I thought it was not the best way of inputting data, so you see that I used the sliders. And the challenge was, when I had this version, is that on Android, you always have the back button. You have the back button that is available to you, so you can dismiss the keyboard. And on iOS, the numeric keyboard doesn't have any functional buttons that are not the delete button. The delete button is the only one that is available to you. Of course, you can add options with external dependency to show a toolbar that would maybe do some work for you. But I was like, okay, I'll just switch to something else because this is not a really good experience anyway, inputting data in this manner. So just so you know, out of the box, you have to do some manual work in order to manage keyboard actions on iOS. What about product flavors? Product flavors is when you have different environments like development, QA, pre-production, production, how many environments that you need. So any professional mobile developer knows about that stuff. You have to manage this when you're doing serious work. So how do you do that in Flutter? Okay, this is the official documentation of the flutter.dev website. So they say, oh, do you need to manage this? So take a look at this article, or this article. They're all very, very long articles. I was like, oh, come on, again, now I have to figure this out by myself. I have to read all of these articles. They're very, very valuable. They're very, very good work. But again, maybe this is something that should be that could be managed by the framework, so we could do it more simple, in a more simple way. And there's also, there are those articles, but people are coming up with the ideas too that are really, really good, but not very well documented. So again, maybe the Flutter team should get all of those ideas and integrate it directly on the framework. It would be better. What about crashes? Crashes, again, really important thing to do on your app when you're publishing it. If your user has a crash, you have to analyze it. You have to be able to debug it in order to fix it for a later release. And the thing in Flutter is that they have this thing that is called the error widget. So whenever your app crashes, whenever there is an error, it will show, they catch all the errors and they show what we call in Flutter development the red screen of death, right there. So this is my app crashing in production. This was a user of mine that sent me a screenshot showing, okay, I did this, this, and this, and I got this. What's the problem? So yeah, so I had a bug on the app. This kind of screen should never show to your users in production. Of course, I think everyone here can agree with that. And in order to handle this kind of things, you have to override the error widget, the builder, and to do whatever you need to do. So here I'm overriding this error widget, the red widget right here, and I'm doing two things. I'm sending the error to Crashlytics, of course, because they don't even get sent to Crashlytics if you don't do this. Crashlytics, which is a tool for analyzing, sending and analyzing bugs. And then, instead of showing the red screen of death, I'm showing something that I know that I can handle, that I can control. That's so I'm showing here an expected error occurred. So yeah, so you have to do some manual work in order to correctly handle those crashes. I have experienced too one really annoying issue with iOS release builds. The thing with iOS is that you have to build it, to package it, and then send it to Apple. I got rejected twice because I didn't check. And when you archive, when you build your final package, you cannot actually install it easily on an iOS device. You have to publish it first, using maybe a beta tool or something like that. But twice I didn't check, and I actually sent an app. When you opened it, it was only a blank screen. I was like, what's going on? Why is it showing this blank screen? So these other people have experienced this problem. There are issues open on GitHub, and I didn't find a final solution to that. I maybe sometimes only clearing the cache, doing stuff like that. Solve the problem, sometimes not. So yeah, so this is something that the Flutter team should definitely look into. Very, very annoying. Another feedback that I have from developing with Flutter is the two modes of compilation. So what you have to know is that Flutter, again, it uses this programming language that's called Dart. There are several reasons why the Google team chose Dart as the programming language for Flutter. The main one was the two compilation modes, just in time and ahead of time. So just in time is optimized for development. So you have stuff like a hot reload. Hot reload is making changes on your code and reloading in the sub-second time span and really seeing very quickly what you're doing. The downside of the just-time compilation is that your app will be not optimized for the material. It will be kind of janky. So here, maybe you don't see on this animation right here, but for the just-in-time version, it's scrolling, it's janky, it's not working well. A lot of people, when they give when they experience for the first time Flutter, of course, you always have lists. Not always, but you very often have lists on your app. They say, "Oh, I made a list, and I run it on my telephone. It's a Pixel 4, it's the latest telephone, or an iPhone 11, and it was so slow. This is a very buggy framework. No one should do that." This is because they are in development mode. They're in the just-in-time. When you're ready to send it to production or to your testers, you're going to use the other mode, which is the ahead-of-time mode, which takes a little bit more time to build, but is optimized for the machine and it works really well. And again, this is all because of the Dart programming language. Thanks to the Dart programming language. This is not related to Flutter, but I thought it was useful information. When I first tried to send my app to Apple, it got rejected so many times, and even today it didn't get accepted to the main public store because the very first version that I sent, it was only one screen. And they told me, they rejected it, and they told me, oh, this app is too simple, doesn't have enough features. I was like, okay, so I added the other screens, and again, I got the same feedback, so I was like, oh, come on. I have maybe 500 or maybe 1,000, I don't know, users on Android. People are happy about it. I'm going to share the statistics after. But I appealed to them. I told him why my app was useful, why people were happy about it, but no, rejection, rejection, and so yeah. So just so you know, don't send apps to Apple if they're only one screen. Get one that is complete enough or complicated enough in order for them to accept them. So, so now I'm going to talk about feedbacks that I have that are not related to programming language, but the overall experience of doing that. One thing that really humbled me was to the feedback that I got from the community, because again, I said that I didn't send my app didn't got, it wasn't accepted on the Apple App Store, but I got it on TestFlight. TestFlight is like a beta internal version of your app that you can also share with your users. And so many people, like maybe tens of people, they actually gave me really, really useful feedback when things were not working for them, so it was really nice to see that. And in order to promote, again, it was only me, right? I had this idea, there's something that I wanted to build for myself in order to play the game in an optimized way. So I say, I'll just publish it to the stores, and I found a Reddit community, and I said, okay, I'll show it to people, and maybe they will tell me what they think about it, and maybe help me build a better app. So I did this post, and on this community on Reddit, and these are the comments that I got from the post, and maybe 99%, maybe one person said, oh, I don't see the point of this, but all the other ones were really, really positive feedback, and people that are really, really happy that I did this tool. And you can see on the right there, this is a zoom of one comment, one guy that took the time. I was like, this is mind-blowing for me. This guy took time from this daily life, and he wrote everything that's shown here on the screen. I was so humbled by that. It was so cool for me. And I also got private messages of people thanking me and even volunteering. Oh, I'm learning Android development. Can I help you? Do you want me to do some work of on your app? So really, really nice. So, summary. For the takeaways, the good things that I have experienced, it was the material design integration, really, really good, really easy to build a very beautiful apps complying with the material design specifications using this framework. A lot of integrations are really easy to do. That I've shown you two, but there are there are many other ones that are really nice too. I explained to you the just-in-time and out-time modes, thanks to the Dart programming language that can help you on your development. I talked to you about the community for my app, but the Flutter community overall, development community is really open and really helpful. So this is really nice. And the actual experience of developing apps, it's really nice. Coming from Android development, I really, really prefer actually a day-to-day life building Flutter apps than building Android. So something to keep in mind. And on the right here, I didn't want to say the bad, but the room of improvement or the manual work necessary, what I put. So general resource management, how you manage your resources. Again, there is solutions, but it's like not managed by the framework. Crash reporting, as I told you, you have to do some work in order to correctly report your crash. Manage product flavors, you have to do manual work. And for keyboard input, I said in order to show this additional toolbar, you have to integrate something by hand. So there was no particular difficulty because of Flutter for my current app. Maybe I have avoided like product flavors and stuff like that. I have not used it yet, so there was absolutely no difficulty for currently. Another takeaway that I have too is that as an app developer, something that we really hear a lot is that apps are dead, there's no more work, no more room for new apps on the App Store. And this showed me, again, I don't have millions of users, but I have users that really think it's helpful, that are using my app every day. So yes, apps are definitely not that. You only have to have the right idea and have something that is helpful for users, simply. One thing that I also learned is that people don't like Google signing. In order to sync the data with Firebase, I only put the Google sign-in, and I was like, okay, maybe people don't want to sign in with Google, don't want to sign in at all. So I put the anonymous login too. And I have half and half, basically. Half of the people are using Google sign-in and half are using anonymous. And I put on the app, if you want your data to be synced to several devices, if you want to back up your data, you have to do the Google sign-in. Only half of them did it. And of course, I got so many helpful and positive feedbacks that actually helped me build a better product. So what are the next steps? I have to tackle the parsing of the data from the screenshots. This is going to be a challenge, but I really want to do it. The biggest pain point, I think, of the app is actually syncing the data, putting the data manually from the app and back to the game. Do some kind of push notifications too, which is completely feasible with the Firebase plugin. Manage localization, figure out some kind of solution and actually do it. As I said, I really like voice interactions that help you do things even more quickly. Means saying something like, "Okay, G, add something to my inventory," something like that. During the game, it would be really nice. And as I said, Flutter, of course, it works for mobile, Android, and iOS, but the web and desktop versions are not stable yet. They are not final yet. The web one is almost stable. So I really wanted to make those kind of variants too. About the technical side, since I was the user, I really wanted to have something working really quickly, so I did not care much. I did the best that I could, but I did not do any kind of specific state management. So right now I'm putting in place MobX, which is a state management library, and provider, which work really well together. Add some kind of pro work tools, continuous integration. I have already put on Bitrise. It's working well. For iOS, you can do a Fastlane, which is a really nice tool that helps you automate a lot of the building tasks and manage different flavors, dev and production at least. And do some kind of unit and widget testing. I don't do any at all, so if you were here on the talk just before the break, this means that my code is bad and is legacy. So yeah, I have to do it. Again, it's hard to care about that stuff when you want your thing to be ready like today. So yes, I completely I didn't care a lot at all about that, but I want to do it eventually. So yeah, so I have these ideas, I want to continue, but should I? Because these are the statistics of my analytics. This was when I was developing, and then this is when I posted on Reddit. I got a lot of users really quickly, but then suddenly it started going down. And this is because this is the version 2.3.0, not of my app, but of the main app. And the thing that I explained in the beginning is that it was really slow for the user, for the person that was playing the game to check the thing and go to the inventory, the registry, and check out. The thing is that with this version, they put the information on the right screen. For me, I was like, okay, my app is completely dead. No one is going to use. Basically, for me, it's made my app deprecated, made my app not useful at all for users. But for my surprise, a lot of people were really looking forward to later versions, to updated versions. This one was actually sent November 12th, so maybe 3 days ago. Yes, so saying that, okay, please keep updating it. I use it every day. I find it really useful. It has really nice reviews on Google Play. So yeah, so definitely I'm going to keep using it, even though I lost a lot of users. I still have people that are using, that are happy about it. So definitely I'm going to continue. So just to finish, some final thoughts. Flutter is awesome. I love it. I still do Android native development, and I think it's awesome too. I did some iOS. I don't like it as much, but I think it's awesome. People that like it, I mean, there's a lot of nice features about that too. Flutter will definitely not entirely replace Android development anytime soon. In the next 5 years, we'll see maybe, I don't know, in many, many years, what will happen, but Android development is not going anywhere. And the final message is just for people here that maybe do web development or Android development, just keep an open mind, try out new stuff. You have to keep learning new things. And especially for the mobile native developers here, there's this new paradigm called declarative programming that it's being pushed to iOS and Android development with Swift UI and Jetpack Compose, and this is the way that things are coded in Flutter. So you will learn about this new way of programming by doing Flutter code, and this will help you be a better native developer. And that is what I had to share with you. So thanks a lot.